Fight fans, welcome to the PBC podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie, and he is USA Today boxing junkie editor Michael Rosenthal. Thank you guys for joining us for another week of boxing banter. We've got a great show for you today. Former unified world welterweight champion Keith Thurman will join us a little later. Plus, we're going to take a look at last weekend's action, both the PBC on FS1 and Fox shows, and we're going to look ahead to this weekend's action. But let's jump into some current events that have got the boxing world buzzing. Saul Canelo Alvarez, the pound-for-pound king, according to many, and boxing's big box office draw, is now a free agent. His manager and trainer, Eddie Reynoso, announced that Alvarez has cut ties with promoter Golden Boy Promotions and broadcaster DAZN, both of whom he had long-term contracts with. I don't know what happened with the court case, but it seems the parties agreed it was just best to go their separate ways. Mike, obviously this sent shockwaves through the boxing community. Let's try to parse it a little bit. First, what does this mean for Golden Boy Promotions?
Well, Golden Boy lost its biggest star, its cash cow. That's huge for them any way you look at it. I think we're going to see how capable they are over there at Golden Boy, based on whether they can remain a major player in the sport, long term. They have some good young fighters, but when you lose a guy like Canelo Alvarez, that's obviously just absolutely huge. Here's the thing, though: it was inevitable. I think. The relationship between Canelo and Golden Boy was too damaged to repair, as far as I could see. He just outgrew the company. He's just too big. He needs to promote himself, and I think that's what's going to happen going forward. The good news for Golden Boy is what I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that they still have a partnership with DAZN, meaning their fighters have a platform, and they have those promising young fighters, guys like Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz and Jaime Munguia and a few other guys. With Canelo gone, they could focus on building the careers of those guys. I would say they have their work cut out. There's only one Canelo.
Yeah, I agree with you. There are some pluses and minuses here. Obviously, the minus is it's a huge negative. It is a big loss for Golden Boy. DAZN is now restructuring their agreement with them, and I assume that means significantly less money for shows. Also, Golden Boy, I don't think they release financials anymore, so we can't really dig that deep into them, or at least I couldn't find it anywhere. But just to show you how valuable Canelo was to the company, the numbers we do have, which from several years ago when Canelo wasn't even that big of a star, he accounted for, and that is Canelo, for 94% of Golden Boy's income from boxing operations in 2015 and 107% in the first half of 2016. And you can only imagine how much larger he's become since then. Now, they still have some viable names, Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, Jaime Munguia. Garcia is a budding star. I think Ortiz looks like he's going to be a major player at welterweight, and Munguia is an exciting fighter, if nothing else. Obviously, these guys combined don't make up, half of a Canelo, but there's a lot to work with there, and you can build somebody up like a Ryan Garcia to be a superstar. Now, what about DAZN, Mike? What does this mean for them?
The original deal was 11 fights for at least $365 million with Canelo. That was just beyond overly ambitious, I think we can say, looking, in retrospect. They were never going to sell enough subscriptions in the United States to justify that kind of investment. It just wasn't going to happen. They simply couldn't pay the kind of money Canelo commanded. So from a business standpoint, it made perfect sense to separate from him in light of everything that's happened recently. To answer your question, they still have the Golden Boy fighters. They have Anthony Joshua, Demetrius Andre, Devin Haney, Danny Jacobs, Gennady Golovkin, and some other guys. They have some big fighters, which means they can continue to attract boxing fans in the U.S. So we'll see. I want to add this, though. I doubt they'll ever be as big in the United States as they hope to be. I just don't see that happening. It just seemed like the model just doesn't work here. But listen, I'm no expert in television. I'm just basing that on evidence. That seems obvious to me.
Yeah, in common sense, it seems like to me, just because I agree with you. I think they're stronger internationally than they are, stateside. They can still make some good fights at 160 and 168. They've got Golovkin, Demetrius Andre, Danny Jacobs, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and they have some pretty good flyweights as well. In terms of roster, I would compare them to like a poor man's HBO in the last days of HBO boxing, because HBO boxing did have Andre Ward and Canelo Alvarez then, and I suppose you could add Anthony Joshua to that mix, but he's just not as big of an entity in the United States. Whatever. We're going to discuss potential opponents for Canelo Alvarez a little later in the show when Mike and I go toe-to-toe. But let's move on to last weekend's action as undefeated WBC World Lightweight Champion Devin Haney won a 12-round unanimous decision over Yuriorkis Gamboa. But a lot of mixed reviews for this fight, Mike. Some say Haney did what he had to do. Others said it was lackluster. Were you impressed?
Yes and no. Talk about wishy-washy. Haney won almost every minute of every round, which is why he won a near shutout decision. Two of the judges had it a shutout. Excuse me again. I gave Gamboa 1 round out of charity, and that might have been a little bit too generous. I think Haney's impressive skill set was on full display. He looked good from that perspective. That said, he himself said he wanted to make a statement along the lines of Teofimo Lopez against Vasily Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis against Leo Santa Cruz. He didn't do that. Gamboa is old, but he's a clever boxer, and it's difficult to take out a clever boxer who's determined to survive, which I think Gamboa was. At the same time, great boxers, which is what Haney wants to be, they find ways to hurt overmatched opponents, which Gamboa definitely was, and Haney couldn't do that. Was the night a disaster for Haney? No. He looked good in terms of his boxing. I just feel he didn't keep pace with his lightweight rivals, which I think is maybe a somewhat of a blow.
Yeah, you nailed it. Obviously, by fighting Gamboa after Gervonta Tank Davis did, he was looking to make a statement. He did not, or he made the wrong kind of statement. I thought he won clearly, wide fashion, but didn't look that great doing it. He looked solid. It was just a solid win, but it wasn't that blow you out of your seat. Wow, this kid is the future kind of win. I think his power or lack thereof won't deter others from coming at him, but he's an excellent boxer, no question. I think he's right in the mix in terms of skill level and being proven. I'd place him somewhere between the Tank Teofimo level and the Ryan Garcia level. I think in terms of popularity, he lags behind all the others. Lags behind those three anyway. But anyway, enough of the current events. Time to move on to the PBC Fight of the Week. This Saturday, November 14th, FS1 PBC Fight Night returns at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. A battle of middleweights in the main event. Undefeated Amilcar Vidal steps up versus another undefeated 160-pounder, Edward Ortiz, in a 10-round headliner. Mike, let's start with the essentials.
Okay, here we go. Vidal, it's 11-0 with 10 knockouts. Ortiz, 11-0-2 with 4 knockouts. They're both 5-0 in their last 5. Vidal with 4 knockouts, Ortiz with 1. Vidal last fought in January. He stopped Leopoldo Reina in 1 round, first round. Ortiz fought Antonio Todd in more recently, August 22nd. He won by a split decision in an 8-rounder. Vidal, 91% knockout ratio. Ortiz, 31. Neither guy has much experience in the pros. Vidal, 30 rounds. Ortiz, 58. Vidal's 24, Ortiz 29. Both fight from an orthodox stance. Vidal 6 feet even. Ortiz 6'2", 74.5-inch reach for Vidal. Ortiz, couldn't find a reach, but watching film, it looks like it's really long. So if you're interested, go watch some videos for Ortiz. We'll get into that when we talk about the fight. Vidal's from Uruguay, but he lives in Southern California, a couple hours from Los Angeles out in the desert. Ortiz is from San Antonio. Vidal turned pro only a couple years ago, 2018. Ortiz, 2016.
Oh, Vidal has a very interesting story. About 5 years ago, he was involved in a pretty bad accident where he was run over by a truck. He spent 2 months in a hospital. pelvis was broken, had surgery on his left arm. I mean, it was pretty bad. And they told him he'd never walk again. So, from that to becoming a respected amateur and now a rising professional, it's pretty impressive. But Mike, how good is Vidal really?
Okay, well, I have to qualify this by saying that I've had limited, ability to watch this guy fight. I just watched a few videos, but he looks pretty good to me. I looked at his record, and I somehow expected to see like a bruiser or a banger in there, right? Because he's got 10 knockouts in
Right.
11 fights. He doesn't appear to be that. He's a good, athletic, patient boxer who evidently has a lot of, good punching power. I really liked what I saw. It's hard to make a judgment on a few video clips once again, but he seems to be a legit prospect to me. I think we could be impressed on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, what about his opponent, Edward Ortiz? He's also undefeated. Is he solid enough to test Vidal?
Based on what I've seen, yeah, I think so. He fought in the same venue in August. He outpointed Todd, as I mentioned, in an 8-round
Yeah.
fight. Ortiz is a tall guy. I mentioned he was 6'2", rangy. Seems to have solid skills. I really like his jab. He's got this long jab that just keeps poking people in the face, which is always a good thing. We both agree it's an underused punch. Again, I couldn't find his reach, but it looked really long. His problem might be his lack of power, and I'm basing that just on his record. 4 knockouts and 11 victories kind of makes me wonder whether he could hardy punches. But I think he's a prospect too. Now, he's 29 years old. It's a little bit old to be a prospect, but I think that's what he is.
Well, it sounds like it's a really good fight then.
Yeah.
In which case, I must ask, who are you picking?
I think based on what I can see and what I could glean from the information I have, I think Vidal's the more complete boxer puncher. I just kind of have a feeling about this kid. I think he's gonna outbox and ultimately stop Ortiz in 7 or 8 rounds.
Yeah, I see the same thing. I think mid to late round KO. He looked the part against Zach Prieto last year, and I was impressed. I expect him to impress again. Now, a couple other notes on this card. Unbeaten cruiserweight Efetobor Apochi of Nigeria is going to take on Joe Jones in the co-feature, and in the televised opener, an intriguing battle between super featherweights. Undefeated prospect Henry Arredondo versus Eros Correa. Also, this weekend, we get to see the return of WBO World Welterweight Champion Terrence Crawford, who will be defending his title versus former champion Kell Brook. Mike, fans have pretty strong opinions regarding this matchup. What about you?
The matchup is okay at best, if you're being generous. 5 years ago, after Brook beat Sean Porter to win a welterweight title, it would have been a really good matchup. Not now. Brook had those 2, gruesome knockout losses to Triple G and Errol Spence, which left him with broken facial bones in both fights. He hasn't been active. He didn't fight at all in 2019.
Yeah.
He in his last few fights, he's fought at 154. It means he's gonna have to come down and weight for this fight at 34 years old. That's really not an easy thing to do. Crawford is 33, but he's obviously still near the top of his game. So on paper, I'll just say I'm not overwhelmed by this matchup.
Yeah, and I wish Crawford were in better matchups. Look, I had him number 8 on my pound for pound list when we last brought it up. He's probably closer to top 5 and skill wise top 3, but it's opponents and matchups like this which cause me not to place him higher than guys who have gone out and beaten better competitors than he has. So for many, Saturday night is just another in a long line of opponents who probably have no business being in the ring with him. Now, with that said, does Kell Brook have a chance in your opinion?
Yes, he has a chance. He has ability. It's no question about that. He does have some ability. He's got experience. That's always a good thing. I just think there are too many things working against him. The things that I mentioned. That said, some guys have the ability to reach into the past and pull out one more special performance. It happens. We see it all the time, but it just isn't likely in this case, in my opinion. To be honest with you, I expect a blowout.
Yeah, you know that if Kell Brook from 2017 shows up, yeah, we've got a good fight, but that's asking a lot and it's unlikely. But hey, yes, if that guy shows up, then yeah, should be good. What does a win here though mean for Crawford at the end of the day?
Not much. It's more of the same for him, which you sort of alluded to. He'll probably win handily, convincingly, and then get criticized for not fighting the elite 147 pounders again. Of course, he hasn't fought since last December. It's important for him to get back into the ring and shed whatever rust might be there. So that's a positive thing. I just think a victory over Brook is, and in terms of his resume, his legacy, it just doesn't do very much. He desperately needs to step up his opposition. The clock is ticking. He better get on that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm agree with you. I don't think this fight means much or moves the needle. I'm sure he'll want to impress, get the KO win, and many believe he will. You obviously alluded to him winning. I think most of us think it's a foregone conclusion. How do you see the fight playing out? What's your prediction?
Yeah, that would be bold if I went with Brook in this case, but I'm not going to do it. I think it's a blowout. I think Crawford's going to take him out in 6 rounds. That's my specific prediction.
Yeah, that's I like that one. I'm gonna go with Crawford as well, 6 rounds. So we see eye to eye on that. I think he's gonna punish Brook and take him out. Now I'm still first in our prediction league, 27-5-1 to your 26-6-1.
Yeah, we got to work on that.
Well, you got to work on that. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing, as Alton Merkelson used to always tell Roy Jones. Look, we're both picking the same guys this week, so it won't change, but the numbers will. All right, let's move on to this week's guest, one of my favorite fighters, one of the biggest names in the sport today, the former unified world welterweight champion, Keith Thurman. All right, Keith, first, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time out to speak to us. How have you been keeping busy during your time off?
Just, luckily for me, I live in Florida, and, we had beautiful weather right now. We had restaurants that never closed down, even at the crazy parts of the pandemic. They were allowing outside seating. But I did see a shift where, how a lot of restaurants weren't getting a lot of clients, and I popped in, grabbed an acai bowl. Some places were only doing to go, like the acai place. I popped in, grab and go. Other places I just grab and go. But a few times I was able to just sit out and enjoy the Florida weather. The summer's been pretty nice. Golf has been an active sport this whole time. And then besides that, I just got so tired of everything. I just started hitting the gym again. It took a while before the gym at my condominium was, they were like train at your own risk and different things, and I didn't want to jump head first. So I gave it some time, but then I started moving around in my own gym a few weeks later. And yeah, man, I'm just kind of moving around, just trying to get my mind game strong for 2021. Part of me wishes I would have gotten in the mix with the early PBC stuff, even though it probably would not have been an exciting fight, but just to get in the mix. But I don't fully regret not doing that as well. I'm just ready to work, man. My weight is getting down. I got the birthday challenge this month. I'm challenging myself. See how low I can go for my birthday. I'm about to be 32. I want to look good in my birthday photos. Don't want to be no big boy. So all's been well, man. I haven't seen family as much as I would like to during this pandemic time. It's not easy getting everybody together. We had some time where we all link up at Pop's house, and I spend time with my mother just one day a week, and I didn't break up that protocol regardless of COVID. And so we're just pushing through it, man. It's nobody's favorite year right now, but we're doing the best we can on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you. We've seen you on social media. You've been pretty active, and it actually looks like you've lost. Seeing that you're pretty slim in the face. For those of us who've been home during the pandemic and gained a lot, can you share any secrets?
Yeah, the spin bike. If you've been on my IG, you see I like to go live on my cool down just for the fans, man. I've never been the best on the IG. But I love the live feature because it allows me to be me. I'm always 100. You catch me in the raw form. while I'm cooling down. And, I'm actually trying to encourage people, and you'll get more videos throughout this month, to go ahead and lose some weight before Thanksgiving, like me for my birthday, man. It's my birthday challenge. I challenge myself, but anybody can hop on to it. Get moving, man, because winter's right around the corner, and a lot of people like to get stagnant. That's how energy works, with the seasons of the year. During wintertime, everybody wants to get stagnant. During the summertime, everybody wants to move around. You just got to use your mental strength. And we know nowadays there's so much information about health and wellness, and there's so much that you can do. Nobody wants to go to the doctor and get a pill. Nobody wants to be getting older and see that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday bottle, I've seen older family members have to flip open, diabetes runs in my family. There's a lot of people in America who suffer with that. And, you just got to stay active, man. You got to do it for yourself, and you're going to feel good, for right now. Another part of my losing weight is I'm trying to detox, whether that is doing more juicing, drinking lemon water. There's simple things. Sometimes people think, well, detox is going to cost a lot of money. There are protocols that, organic juicing, it can get hefty from time to time. But outside of that, you can just be consuming a gallon of lemon water. Buy more lemons, add it to your water, hydrate more with lemon water. Get off the soda pop, and whatever you got to do to just make yourself feel a little bit better. And the moment you feel a little bit better, don't reward yourself with some junk, because that's the mistake we all do, and that's the mistake I've done my whole career. Is, oh man, champ, you train so hard, champ, you deserve that cheesecake, champ, you just won the fight, champ. Let's just go ham. I like to tell myself that I'm not in my 20s no more. I'm in my 30s, and I really want to live life differently, man. We learn from our mistakes, and we evolve as a species, and as human beings, and just as people, man. So that's all I'm trying to do right now, and I just encourage anybody to take one step forward in the right direction.
I'm inspired. I'm gonna leave the interview right now and go work out. Keith, I wanted to ask, so you've had a lot of time off, obviously. Has that allowed you to sort of get completely healthy, like over whatever nagging injuries you might have had? How are you feeling?
Definitely. No matter what, there was a time where, because of COVID, I wasn't really getting the physical therapy that I should have been doing. I kind of was neglecting going to the doctor's office and doing the little PT that I needed to do at that time. But the hand, there's no pain as far as pain is concerned. There is a little bit of like atrophy, weakness from the lack of usage, and I noticed that. And I was like, okay, it's not really pain, but it's not really strong. What can we do? And I started doing some exercises, mixing it into my protocol, some planking, some push-up positions, even though one of my doctors recommended that I don't really do push-ups in the old school way no more, that I do it holding on to something with like a bar. But there was something about in the hand. The bone fusion, I think, is 100% successful. When I was sparring some of the amateurs just to move around with them at some time, and when I hit the heavy bag, it feels really good. I'm not hitting the bag going home, needing to ice it or anything like that. We're not in any of those kind of scenarios right now. So I'm 100% confident in the surgery and the bone fusion. I just felt a little bit of weakness, and I had some strengthening, like planking on the hands from a push-up position without doing a push-up, and other things like that just allowed, when I would feel a little achiness, I'd say, okay, well, push yourself. Let's try to strengthen the muscles in the hand. I got a hard ball that people, they might roll out on it. deep tissue massage to themselves. You can use it on your back. You can use it on your glutes, hamstrings, all that. But I use it on my hand. I got grasping tools, scraping tools to try to smooth out the adhesions from the small insertions that the doctor made. And it's all coming around, man. I have a lot of confidence in the knowledge that I've accumulated in this time, the reflection, and what I want for myself. You know, I want better performances. You know, I already knew 2019 wasn't going to be my best year. But coming off of a loss, you get a little bit of fire underneath you to get up and go do more. And, you know, like Ali said, I'm going to show you how great I am. There's a lot more for me to accomplish. And I believe that I still am in the running for being one of the most devastating welterweights in the welterweight division today.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to the comeback fight, or your first fight after all this. Do you have any idea, or have you gotten any word when you might return to the ring?
Just first quarter of next year for right now. You know, as long as no crazy hiccup happens with like a re-lockdown or something. I'm just playing it by ear. I love seeing the momentum that the sport of boxing is getting. I love seeing the momentum that other sports are getting, you know, because I'm an athlete. So we want to see the sports industry doing well. We want to see them active and on TV. And I'm just ready for the first quarter of next year, whatever opportunity comes my way.
Would you like it to be a title fight, or you just want to get back into action and sort of take it a step at a time?
Title fight, title eliminator, you know. I have everything in my heart and soul wants to be champion again, and sooner than later. So we'll see what comes.
Keith, you mentioned the IG Live, and I saw the one where I guess someone asked you about your Dennis Ugas as a potential opponent, and you seem to like the idea a whole lot. Is that someone you'd be interested in facing in 2021?
Yeah, I have no objections to that. I mean, I think he's on a little bit of a win streak. He's the current regular WBA champion, so it'd be for a belt. He's somebody with a little bit of a different style, respectable Cuban fighter. He arguably beat Sean, didn't get the W, but you know how the fans feel about that performance from Porter. And he's just somebody that I never got to share the ring with. I've met him in person. I know he respects me. I respect him. And, you know, it's a fight, you know, it's a fight. There's nothing, you know, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good scrap. There are a lot of good scraps at 147. If you could play matchmaker, what fights would you want to see in 2021 at welterweight, yourself included?
We got the Danny Spence right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, ideally, I would like to fight anybody that's respectable, and the winner lead into the winner of Garcia Spence later on next year. You know, so let's say it was Thurman Ugas, then the winner of that could possibly be in contention for you know, Danny or Spence. And you know, there's a little bit of camaraderie between me and Sean Porter. And they both fought, you know, recently. And I know that the fights that they had weren't taxing, and I believe that they would be ready in the first quarter. You know, if I heard a rumor that Danny might want to move up if he doesn't become champion again. He might want to go after the Charlos or something. I've heard a lot of different stories in the pandemic. You know, I'm 147, true and true. You know, I've probably got to be 35 years old before I'm going to move up in weight classes. You know, at the end of the day, man, you know what I do when I get in the ring, and I do my best to just try to put together some of the best fights possible. I've always been interested just because I like the name. You know, if you want to talk about like what's a good fight, what's matchups, just kicking the shit with the fans and stuff. I always liked Garcia versus Garcia, you know, like Garcia, Danny Garcia. I always thought that would be an interesting matchup to see. So, you know, there's always potential. You know, there's talks about, you know, is anybody from PBC going to go over and going to step in the ring with Crawford? You know, so there's that as well. Is there any PBC fighter that would get in the ring with Terrence Crawford next year, or is it still not going to happen at this time? So I don't know, man. I love the welterweight division. I think it's stacked with a lot of talent, and I think you can almost put names in a hat and just pick them and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned Errol Spence Jr. He recently made comments to suggest he doesn't want to fight you. Do you think that's just trash talk? Or do you think he really doesn't want to fight you?
I don't know. I mean, he's fighting my old opponents. He's fought, you know. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't want to fight me. You know, you're gonna it'd be an exciting fight. It'd be one of the greatest matchups of any year whenever it goes down. I personally was looking forward to fighting him in 2020 because it was an Olympic year. He was an Olympian. I was an Olympic alternate. But coming with the loss from the Pacquiao fight, you know, no longer being champion, maybe he doesn't really have that much interest. But I think the fans still have plenty of interest. Like I was saying on the IG, I was calling it a BL, a barely lost, you know, BL. You know, and I still believe that I have everything that it takes to come back in the ranks as the number one welterweight in the world. So, you know, if it's all, you know, the ball will probably be in his court, but I don't understand why he don't want to play ball, man. Let's play ball. You know, let's get in there.
Right. So it seems like
there's been a lot of delays. There's been things that happen. I've been injured, man. You know, I've had difficulties through my career. You know, and they weren't all optimal. You know, but we're finally coming to a time where I believe it's optimal timing, and I don't know why he would want to go against that. At the end of the day, you know, I respect him as a fighter. You know, and I've always looked forward to stepping in the ring with the best welterweights in the welterweight division, and he's definitely one of them. So, you know, like I said, he's only handling the work that I already took care of anyways, and then he wants to bypass me. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can lay your head down at night and feel like you've done everything at 147 and just keep it moving.
it seems like you're able to get under his skin or elicit a reaction from him, maybe more than most guys. What do you attribute that to?
I think he was frustrated coming up that I was in the lead. You know, I've accomplished things before him. My record was built up before his record was built up. Just the fact that, you know, a lot of people wanted to see him do more before we give him true recognition. You know, it's the fight game, man. I don't understand why he would get too offended by it. He's proven himself through and through. He's got to not get hit by the Philly bricks coming his way real soon. but you know, we all favor Spence, you know, in that fight right now. But you know, I was right there next to Danny. We were commentating, working inside PBC for the Porter Spence fight, and Danny thought that he let Sean Porter hit him way too much, and Danny was salivating, saying, "Let me hit him. Oh man, let me hit him." You know, and I know that feeling. I remember picking Sean Porter, saying, "I want that fight." I remember picking Danny Garcia, saying, "Al, give me that fight." You know, and here's Danny saying, "Yo, I want Errol Spence. Let me hit him." You know, so I love that kind of hunger, and I want to know what happens when he does get hit with a Philly brick. You know, Danny's definitely the hardest puncher that I've had to face in the ring. He never got to hit me flush, but he hit my shoulder, and my shoulder told my chin, "Don't let that hit you. Don't let that hit you." You know, you know. So at the end of the day, he's a little slow, but he does try to time you. He's a little bit more clever than I wanted to give him credit for going into the fight. And, we're all at the top for a reason, man. I mean, this is a sport. Many people love it. Many people love it. Some people are just fight fans, but there's people who truly love the sport. I got love for the sport, man. I'm looking forward to that matchup and seeing what happens. I don't take Danny out of the fight, but I definitely give him the old typical puncher's chance. I don't give him round by round. He wasn't able to beat Sean Porter round by round. He wasn't able to do me in round by round. I don't give him the round by round, but I do give Danny Garcia the puncher's chance. It's always there. It's always live. So let's see.
Well, you just pretty much answered my next question. So it sounds like you're favoring Errol in that fight. You think he should win that fight, but there's that chance that he might get caught.
Yeah, and then, I caught Danny real early too. Errol might hurt Danny at the same way. Errol's got power of his own. We've seen it time and time again, but it all depends on how he wants to fight. It all depends on how he reacts when he feels that punching power. Does he want to show Danny what he can do? Does he want to stay on the outside like he did against Mikey Garcia? I think he gave Mikey Garcia a lot of respect, and I don't think he took much risk, but he dominated the fight, So, from a fan's perspective, of course, I want to see him take more risk. Of course, I want to see him issue more damage to the opponent. But at the end of the day, his opponent wasn't able to do anything to him, and he dominated with a victory. So what kind of performance are we going to see from Errol Spence under these circumstances? That's what I'm wondering.
Look, getting back to you, you mentioned your BL, the one close loss to a legend in Manny Pacquiao. Despite that, it seems that welterweights want to dismiss you, although they haven't faced the same level of competition that you have. What's your take on that?
Just see me in the ring. At the end of the day, just see me in the ring. I'm nothing has changed about Keith Thurman. I'm the guy who always said, I'm not afraid to let it go. You can beat me. Why? Because you're going to do it to my face. There's a part of me that didn't feel like I lost the fight. There's a part of me while I was scoring the fight that felt like it could kind of lean towards a draw. One judge with the knockdown had me winning by 2 rounds. The final judge had me losing by 1 point. The only thing that can accumulate that point is the knockdown in the first round. So it was a very close fight. I got a lot of people who come up to me and they believe that I pulled it out. And, I say, well, I wish you were one of the 3 judges that mattered. At the end of the day, that's who you got to impress, those 3 judges. I do believe that there's a little bit more that I can do or that I could have done in that fight. I didn't wake up till the 7th round. I remember seeing the ring girl come in with the 7th round. I told my coach, I'm like, yo, coach, it's the 5th round. What's she doing with that card in her hand? My coach was like, Keith, it's the 7th. I'm like, yo, how much time have I wasted? I've been walking this man down. I've been BSing, showing him how tough I am. I'm like, yo, let me make sure that I'm getting these rounds in and show that I came here to win. And I think I just stepped on the gas a little too late. And ultimately, I didn't go full throttle at the end. There's just some things that could have happened. It's such a close fight when you lose by a 1 point marginal decision. It's like LeBron losing Game 7 by 1 shot. It's like it's like Tiger making a bogey on the last hole. I mean, in any sport, you take a major competition and you make it a 1 point marginal, loss where from being victorious and being the champion to not being the champion in that event. It's just devastating, but it makes you reflect. And that's all that I'm doing, man. This is life. You win some, you lose some. Some days are your best days. Some days are not. And, I just think that I got a lot more to give to the sport. And I just want to show it as soon as I get back into the ring.
You went from being, the hunter to the hunted, and now it seems you're the hunter again. Has that changed you in any way mentally? What is that like?
It's interesting. I do believe that many champions throughout history have held the belt and as they hold it, they get very comfortable, and they no longer really bring out the best because they think they got it. They think they always got it. That's the one thing that's very admirable with Floyd Money Mayweather is how he performed throughout his whole career. Like every fight mattered. Like every fight was that Olympic gold. He was going for the gold. He deserved it back when he was an amateur fighter, and he just always performed with that kind of status, that Olympic mindset that we're going for the gold. You're not going to touch me. You're not going to disturb me. I'm going to bring all my skills and talent every single time that I step into the ring. That's just the road that I'm on right now, is to show people the exact level and caliber of fighter that I am. I believe that there is more that I can give. I think that there's my greatest performance has yet to come, and that's all I want to do. I still got several more years in the sport, and I just want to know that after that loss, that that was not my greatest performance. Neither was fights before that. My greatest performance is yet to come, and I want to present it to the world.
Keith, I remember reading that you're into meditation. I just wanted to know, how did you get into that, and does it help you as a boxer?
I actually got into meditation before I was ever champion of the world. I got into meditation and a lot of the philosophies behind it around 19 and 20 years old. I've gone in and out of it, but COVID's allowed me to have plenty of time to get back into meditation. And I think it's really good for all athletes and regular people in general because of the studies shown with how you can control stress levels and different things. But for me, there's so many different types of meditation. You got visual meditation where you can visualize what you want to achieve in life. You can pretty much contemplate on and try to organize your priorities and get everything in line and then try to take the right steps with the right attitude into that future, into that reality. And then you just have just really following the breath, forgetting the world, letting go, letting go of who I am, what I am, what I'm supposed to do, what happened in the past, what may happen in the future, all that worrisome thought patterns. I'm definitely trying to bring it all full circle again and implement those things into my daily life. And I believe that they're important, just to stay really well balanced with emotional health and a regular human being. But as an athlete, I believe that it's going to allow me to just do what I need to do, focus better, hold on to a better state of mind. I've been champion. I've unified titles. I've lost a title. I've been through so much now, and I'm still here, and I still got so much to give. So honestly, I just want to enjoy it all and do my best. Anything that anybody says that can't hurt me.
Keith, you were the biggest U.S. draw last year from the Fox ratings, versus Josito Lopez, to the pay-per-view versus Manny Pacquiao. What is it about Keith Thurman that draws fans to him?
I just believe that I've always been an exciting fighter. The way that I fight, people can say, he got hit in the body on this fight, and he got hit with this shot here and there. I don't want to get hit, but there's a part of me that always was the kind of fighter that will take a hit, and I believe that there's just a certain old school mentality to the way that I approach the ring. I want to challenge my opponents. I want to challenge myself. And then at the end of the day, I just give it my all. And I really think that the fight fans love it, and they respect it. I got so much respect for losing. You know, how many people lose? I mean, you know what kind of industry this is. How many people lose and get to hold respect? You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's just what makes me different, is just the way that I go about it, and that I'm willing to just let it all out. You know, regardless of if I'm getting hit. You know, those body shots, they all say, oh, he can't take a body shot, but I've never been dropped by one, you know. So it's ironic. You know, I feel like if you can't take it, you're going down, you know. I take them, you know, I take them like a true champion. And I think the fans just love that level of entertainment.
Now, you know, leading up to the fight versus Pacquiao, I saw you discussing your Toyota Prius. I believe it was on Fox. Do you still have that whip, or have you upgraded now that you've been on pay-per-view?
I still have it. I actually ended up buying two Priuses. The original Prius I gave to my sister, and then I didn't want to rack my head on what to buy, so I just bought another Prius. Everyone made fun of me because of it. But we still have the car. I'm probably gonna trade it in soon for whatever. But I was letting somebody utilize it, and for the most part, for the past year and a half, I've been riding around in a BMW. So I leased it through the corporation. It's a smooth 7 Series. And
Nice.
The lease will be up next year, probably in March, I think. And we'll probably hop around from vehicles. I still got the Mustang too, the Shelby GT 350R, but I haven't put it on the road in years, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. If I'm just gonna keep staring at it, or try to see if somebody wants to buy it. But part of me just kind of wants to put some new tires on it and put it back on the road. I'm just not sure how wifey's going to feel. But there's a part of me that really would like to do that. So we'll see.
Well, we can't wait to see what's next. Keith, thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to us. Wish you the best. I hope you keep safe, and hopefully we'll have you back on again soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds great. Thank you for your time as well.
All right, it's time for the week in review, and we're going to examine the 2 PBC cards from last week, beginning with last Saturday's main event on Fox, heavyweight action between Luis King Kong Ortiz and Alexander Flores. Not much to write about. You know, the fight was over almost as soon as Ortiz began throwing punches. First round KO is what occurred. Mike, can we glean anything from this matchup?
Not really. I mean, 45 seconds. I can only say that he was aggressive right from the start. I liked the fire. He showed a little bit of fire. It tells me that he wanted to make a statement. That's pretty much it. But I wanted to point out that this is the first time I've ever seen someone get knocked out by getting hit in the face with a biceps muscle, which apparently that's what happened. Like he threw that it was a right to the body, right?
Right.
He threw the right to the body, but his bicep hit the guy in the face. And afterward, after he got up, he was interviewed by one of the ringside reporters, and he said that his vision went black and his legs went numb. But it wasn't because of the body shot; it was because of the biceps to the face. So kind of a strange ending. Anyway, it was good to see him back in the ring, and I hope he gets at least one more shot at a big fight, and maybe a title fight.
Yeah, and credit to him for discovering a new way to knock somebody out.
There you go.
I suppose the bicep shot would hurt, especially from Luis Ortiz.
It looked like it in the replay, yeah.
Is there anyone you would like to see him face next? I mean, I guess we didn't learn too much about him in this fight. Is there someone you'd perhaps like to see him face, sort of position him to get in line for a world title?
I think anybody under the level of the current title holder, a guy like Andy Ruiz, that level guy, maybe the winner of Povetkin and White rematch. I think he's right there with any of these guys, and I think he's got a chance to beat these guys.
Yeah. I like the Andy Ruiz one. That's a good one. I was thinking about Otto Wallin too. I thought that.
I like that, and I think Otto's earned it too.
Yeah. I think that might be a good fight, or Dominic Brazil, even if he can't get anything else. But hopefully he can he can get an opponent, a top opponent, maybe the guy who was in the co-feature, rising undefeated Cuban Frank Sanchez. He continues to impress under the tutelage of trainer Eddie Reynoso. Sanchez, a.k.a. the Cuban Flash, he dropped Brian Howard 3 times on his way to a 4th-round TKO win. So, maybe he becomes an opponent for Luis Ortiz in 2021. What did you think of his performance?
It was good performance. Obviously, he took the guy out pretty handily. The thing is that he was like a different fighter from one fight to the next.
Yeah,
He's boxing and moving. The one fight is a little bit boring, maybe. Comes back the next fight, and obviously Eddie's in his ear going, "You can't fight like that. You got to go after the guy." And he looked like a banger. He just went in there, tried to take us out. Honestly, my gut reaction was that that's not the way to go. I don't think that's his strength. I think his strength is boxing and his athleticism. He's pretty quick for a guy that size. But it's hard to argue with the results. So I'm kind of caught in the middle here. It just didn't seem to me to be who he is based on what I've seen in the past. But maybe the new guy is going to continue to do this to his opponents. I don't know. It just was kind of jarring to see him fight that way.
Yeah, and I suspect it might have had something to do with the opponent, where maybe they didn't want him to play with his food a little bit, but kind of hard to say because as a heavyweight, you're right. We do want to see knockouts from our heavyweights, so you might feel the pressure to do that. But my hope is that he's just versatile and he'll adjust his game plan according to whoever's in front of him. Either way, he's definitely one I think we're both watching closely. Now, in the opening bout on the card, Michael Coffey remained unbeaten with a 2nd-round TKO over Joey Abel. Now, let's move on to last Wednesday's card, the FS1 PBC Fight Night card, because that was a good one. In the main event, that was pretty fun. 2 rising welterweight prospects, Eimantas Stanionis and Justin DeLoach, both squaring off against each other to see who would graduate from prospect to contender. And in the end, it was the undefeated Stanionis who came through in flying colors, knocked DeLoach out in the 9th round. Mike, what were your thoughts on Stanionis' performance?
I thought he looked better and better and better as the fight progressed. At first, he was only jabbing and throwing his left hook, no rights, no combinations, and I'm thinking, come on, man, you got to do more here than just doing what you're doing. Then he gradually worked those things into his attack and just broke down DeLoach, put him down twice, and stopped him, as you said, in the 9th round. In the end, I thought it was a very strong performance. I mean, he's a scary dude, both in terms of the way he looks like he's just ripped is what I'm trying to get at. And he's got the ability. He's poised for a young guy. I think he's got a lot going for him. And remember, DeLoach is a pretty good fighter. Yeah. I think Stanionis passed a minor test. I don't want to say it was a major test, but he passed a minor test, as you said, with flying colors.
Yeah, and you nailed a lot of the things that caught my eye there. He's tenacious, but he's a technician. I thought he looked great. Veteran poise, which you mentioned. He took his time. He didn't waste his punches. He was defensively responsible, and then he closed the show. He gets an A for that performance from me. I'd like to see him switch gears some, maybe show he doesn't fight at just one pace, but that's really nitpicking. He was excellent. Now, who would we like to see him face next?
Well, I thought you mentioned that he's graduating to contender. I think he probably has that ability. It might be too early. I think this is his 2nd 10-round fight. I suppose you could rank him, after that. But at any rate, I think he's got the
contender. I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. But he certainly has the ability to fight maybe even like a top 10 guy. I mean, I wouldn't say top 5 right now. No. You wouldn't want to put him in the ring with a guy like that. But
even
maybe
top 10 at welter is dangerous.
You're right, because it's so deep. Right, yeah. You're probably right, but I would definitely put him in the ring with a fringe contender. I think he's at that level. I think he's dangerous, and I think within 2 or 3 fights, I think he's maybe put him in the ring with anybody.
Yeah, he's getting close to that, I mean, I could see like an Omar Figueroa and Andre Berto, they would make for some fun fights. Josecito Lopez is an option, maybe even a Brian Perella. That's sort of where... I thought
of Jesse Vargas.
Jesse Vargas is a really good opponent for him as well. I mean, that's kind of where I'd like to see where he's at. Jesse Vargas might even be a little too much for him at this point. Who knows? Maybe Berto is as well.
I don't know.
But but he looks good. He looks good. Yeah. No question.
I think he beats those guys.
All of those guys we listed, or
no? The last 2 guys that we mentioned, I think he beats Vargas or Berto right now.
Wow, that's impressive. That's very impressive.
Wow, it's impressive if he does it. I just thought he looked really good. And I think those guys are kind of, on the downside a little bit.
Yeah, they may be, and it's a good test for him at this point, but still quite a leap from Deloach. But either way, these are all fights that we'd love to see. All right, it's time for Rick and I to go toe-to-toe. Now, every week we debate or discuss a topic or two in this segment, and today it's simple and timely. The top 3 fighters we'd like to see Canelo Alvarez face. Now, not necessarily next, but, relatively soon, before it's all said and done, I guess. And Mike, this was a little more difficult than I thought it would be.
Well, there's a lot of options out there, that's for sure, at more than one weight. So, yeah, it is a little bit complicated. I wanted to mention that I think when people hear that we're going to do this, they're going to say, is this for the next fight? Is this for the next fight? For me, it's not. I thought when I first heard or read that Caleb Plant was a possibility for Canelo's expected return in December, I just thought there wasn't enough time to make a fight that big. And I'm not the only one. Other people have said the same thing. I think he'll probably face someone on a slightly lower level. Somebody like an Anthony Durrell, or maybe he fights Avni Yildirim for the WBC 168-pound title, which would put him in position to challenge the other belt holders. That, to me, as far as just positioning yourself, optimally, maybe that's the best option. At any rate, we're going to see how that plays out. But my 3 guys are opponents that I would most like to see him fight. So we're talking next year. And now that he's a free agent, I'm not even thinking in terms of like who's affiliated with whom. He could fight anybody. So that's kind of the way that I
already know who's number 1 on your list. I can tell. I already know.
Well, I had trouble with the order. Maybe we could talk about that afterward.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, let's start with number 3. Who do you have on your list?
Okay, number 3 for me is Jermall Charlo.
Okay.
I doubt Canelo will fight at middleweight again. I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it. But Charlo could move up to 168, or I suppose they could fight at some catchweight or something like that. So this is, when I talked about the problem with the order, this is actually my favorite possible matchup for Canelo. I like this one the best, especially after the way Charlo looked in his victory over Sergey Derevyanchenko. Charlo's just one of my favorite fighters. To have him fight, he's at his peak, and to have him fight a guy like Canelo would just be amazing for me. The only thing that bothers me is the weight difference. It's just not ideal. I wish that Charlo were fighting right now at 168. Then it would be a no-brainer, but he's not, so it gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I like your option. Now, my third choice is undefeated IBF super middleweight champion Caleb Plant. It's a great fight. There's, as you mentioned, a lot of talk of it being next, and I suppose within this podcast coming out in a few days or so, we'll have a clear answer. Like you, I just don't think there's enough time to really make this fight now. But hey, stranger things have happened. No matter what, it's a great fight. And look, man, Caleb Plant, he's long, he's fluid, he's strong, he can box, he can work on the inside, he's got some pop, he's strong. As I mentioned, he's a gym rat. It's undeniable resolve there in the ring. He is live against Canelo Alvarez. I mean, I'm already seeing quite a few cats picking him to win. That's just a fight I'd love to see. Number 3 on my list, and I don't know if it made yours. What's your number 2?
You stole my thunder. Number 2 is Caleb Plant. I like the matchup for the reasons that you stated. Plant obviously isn't as accomplished as Canelo, who is. There's very few people who are. But I've liked what I've seen from him for some time now. He's quick. He's a polished boxer. Yeah. He's quite a bit taller than Canelo, a lot taller than Canelo. Plus, he's been at 168 for 4 years. So you could argue that maybe he's even naturally a tad bigger than Canelo. He's talented, he's quick, he's tall, he's strong. I think he would be tricky for Canelo to pin down. I really do. I think that would be a serious, legitimate test for Canelo. And that's what I want to see.
Man, he's got so many tricks up his sleeve. Caleb Plant does. What an interesting fight. Now, my number 2 was your number 3, undefeated WBC world middleweight champion Jermall Charlo. He's hungry, he's big, he's fast, he's athletic, he's powerful, he can take a shot. I don't see that fight happening right away for the reasons you mentioned regarding the weight classes. I don't know if Canelo goes back down to 160 anytime soon, and I don't think that Jermall is going to be at 168 I think he sticks around at 160 for at least a couple more fights. it would make sense for him to do that. He probably wants to clean out the division if possible before he moves up. And if he does move up, I think he's a serious threat to Canelo Alvarez. Now, look, we saw how much success Danny Jacobs had versus Canelo, and Charlo has many of those attributes, maybe has a better chin even. But further, Jacobs struggled more against Sergey Deverenchenko than Charlo did. Now, both of them had their struggles, but Charlo certainly won a lot more cleaner. So perhaps Charlo can fare better against Canelo than Danny Jacobs did. Now, who's your number two?
We should mention that we did not speak at all about who our choices were before.
No, not at all.
Okay. I have a feeling we're going to land in roughly the same place. Number one for me is David Benavidez.
Who's your number two? Did you mention your number two? I must have missed it.
Number two is Plant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, David Benavidez is your number one.
Yep. I'm sorry. Did you ask me what my number two was just now?
No, yeah, but I was completely wrong about my guess as far as who your number one was. But go on.
Oh, okay. And I want to know who you thought I was going to pick number one. Talk about this afterward. For me, it's David Benavidez. I mean, I just love that matchup. First of all, I think Benavidez has almost all the physical advantages. He's considerably taller. He's just an unusually strong 168-pounder with elite punching power. The dude could just crack. I think he'd be a lot for Canelo to handle for those reasons alone. But I think Benavidez is also a good all-around boxer, which only makes him more of a threat. I think he would be a very difficult fight for Canelo, which is, again, what we're looking for. And I think that fight would be, of all the ones that we mentioned, that might end up being the most fun to watch because of Benavidez' attitude. He's a warrior. He's a fighter, so he likes to mix it up. So that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely, and he's got personality. Look, I was tempted to go with Errol Spence here, just because he's been calling out. He's been calling Canelo out, and maybe he winds up at 160 one day. But I went with David Benavidez as well. Look, Mexico versus the Mexican American. I mean, there's so many different storylines at play here. I just think it's a brilliant fight that I hope we get to see. Benavidez can box. He's got super fast hands, throws great combinations. He can get inside, he can get dirty. He's a great body puncher as well. A lot of, similarities in their styles. He definitely throws a lot more punches than Canelo does. So he'd certainly have to pick up the pace against a guy like Benavidez. And boy, would he be motivated to face Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah. Remember, he told us, this must have been like a year and a half ago. He said that he wanted to fight Canelo, but he didn't think it would happen for a couple of years. Well, with the pandemic, and everything got pushed back. So it is almost a couple of years later. So who knows,
Maybe it's time.
Yeah, I love, I love the idea of Spence moving up to fight Canelo, but I don't think I would include that because I don't think it would be a good fight for Spence. I really don't. I think it would look like Mikey Garcia did against Spence. I just think.
You gotta admire Errol's belief in himself. He's willing to test himself against the best, and he's talked about Canelo for a long time. I just don't even think Canelo might be there at 160 by the time Errol arrives, if Errol ever gets there. Who knows? But but man, what a fun fantasy fight that is. I mean, you're looking at arguably the two best fighters in the world. So if it were to happen, it'd be immense.
Oh yeah, it'd be fascinating. Did you think who are some of the other guys that you consider?
Beterbiev. I thought you were going to say Beterbiev without.
Oh no, you know what? That's the same thing. That wouldn't be fair to Canelo. No, that's it. I don't want to put fighters in a position where it's not fair. And that wouldn't be fair. He can't go up and fight Beterbiev. I mean, that's why he fought. I think Kovalev was the perfect opponent for Canelo because he's still good. He had the name recognition, but he was obviously at least starting to decline. That was he can't fight a guy like Beterbiev or even one or two of the other top light heavyweights. Now I would still love to see it, but just wouldn't be fair.
I would never underestimate Canelo.
Well, I wouldn't either. You never know.
I think Kovalev's a bigger name too. That probably had something to do with it as well. Yeah. But no question, Beterbiev is a huge risk, and I don't know if he's ready to go up to 175. That would be a complete move to 75. It's like when Roy Jones fought John Ruiz instead of Lennox Lewis.
Perfect, exactly.
Yeah, you make your foray up there. You're fighting a top 5 guy. And you deserve all the credit in the world. But I don't think Roy was ready to jump into the
He would never
into the kings of the division.
He would never have fought Lennox Lewis. That would have been suicide.
Disastrous. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Then again, look at Roy now. Who knows? Maybe Roy would have done it. Roy's still.
I'll pick Roy over Tyson. That's about it. But I'm not gonna.
Yeah. I would have done it. I would have done it back then, and I will now. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Keith Thurman for joining us. We want to thank you guys for listening in as well. Be sure to like and subscribe to the PBC podcast wherever you find us, including YouTube. And we'll be back next week for more boxing talk right here on the PBC podcast.